We want to welcome you to the program that we call Get Involved. My name is Alex Abesadu Biayinko. Before my friend introduces himself, I would like to let you in on what Get Involved is about. It's a program that is aimed at discussing politics, economy, and in fact, generally socio-economic problems, issues, so that we can get you to, or will inspire you to get involved in what is happening in Nigeria and in Africa generally. Because as things go on and people don't get involved, the rot continues. If you want a country that works better for everybody, then every one of us need to get involved. And that is what this program is about. Isha, I would like you to take it from here before I continue.
Okay, my name is Isha Ibrahim. So this show, or this podcast, is going to be quite unique because we're getting everybody involved. To move a nation is not the job of a few people that get privileged to be appointed or elected. It is a collective action of every citizen. So that is what we hope to achieve with this. And then we'll just plead with you to show us the support so that we can all get Nigerians involved and make this society a better place. So Lex, you can introduce the topic.
All right. In today's topic, Get Involved, we're going to be looking at something really, really very interesting. There's a lot of rot going on in the National Assembly. And today we want to look at the elephant in the room, which is constituency project. It's from there that I'll let you in to give us a background of what constituency project is about. So you can take it up from here.
Okay, so let's get the basics sorted out. Constituency projects are not unique to Nigeria. So Nigeria is not the first country to create or innovate this idea. It exists in other climes, especially in countries that are struggling with development, like Asia and Africa. For instance, there are constituency development funds in Pakistan, in India. There are also constituency projects in Uganda, in Kenya, in Ghana. So, but it is supposed to be an ad hoc political arrangement, where funds from the central government move to different communities, and the members of parliament or House of Reps or Senates are the ones who identify the needs in their various constituencies, and then those funds are used to address those needs. So that is the origin of constituency projects. So in Nigeria, the history starts at 1999 because the executive and the president could show things that they have achieved. We build airports, we build schools, we build hospitals. But what about the lawmakers? Who among the lawmakers will get elected because they moved certain bills that have become laws? And so they also wanted to show off some physical projects. And then they agreed on this idea. It starts with 2.5% of all government revenue allocated to constituency development funds. And they tried to move it to 5% in 2003, but Obasanjo refused because Obasanjo has been somebody who is opposed to that kind of arrangement because it's always a conduit for corruption. Now, what is interesting is that between 2009 and 2019, Nigeria has expended, or the lawmakers have expended over 1 trillion naira for constituency projects.
1 trillion naira.
1 trillion in 10 years, right? So you have to look at the value of the dollar about that time to understand how much is involved. But So something curious happened in the 2025 budget. The budget limit is 49 trillion naira. So that is what Nigerian government will be spending in 2025. The 2024 budget was 20 trillion less than this one. The 2024 budget, it was about
20 trillion less.
Yes. Yeah, the 2024 budget is 20 trillion naira less. So 2025 budget is 20 trillion naira more than 2024 budget. So this is a massive spending that's going on. Now, while we're talking about the massive budget, the constituency project also ballooned. Now, instead of 2.5 trillion of government revenue allocated to constituency development funds, in 2025, it grew to over 12% because the lawmakers managed to insert projects worth over 6.9 trillion. So constituency projects that, so imagine for 10 years, between 2009 and 2019, we allocated just about 1 trillion naira to constituency projects. But in 2025 budget alone, we're going to spend over 6 trillion naira. And what are some of these projects? They are street lights, they are boreholes, they are ICT hubs. They are also empowerment. So you will notice that lawmakers buy sewing machines, they buy sometimes refrigerators, they buy tricycles, they buy all kinds of things. In fact, some even buy cars as constituency empowerment projects. And who end up getting these things? It's just a very tiny fraction of the population that end up getting these things. So if you have a population of maybe, if the constituents are about 1 million people, those who get these things are no more than 1,000. So constituency projects it leaves society poor because this money does not build a collective infrastructure that will improve our collective well-being. It rather empowers a very tiny fraction who are politically, my perspective, or some of the basics about the constituency project. So, Alex, so you can now tell us how this project become conduit for corruption and how because have you seen, for instance, where you live? And the beauty about this podcast is that you live in Abuja, I live in Lagos, so we can compare notes, right?
Absolutely.
And so have you seen constituency projects carried out by lawmakers who represent the area you stay and they impacted people? And so let's take it off from there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ishaya, for this beautiful background that you've laid with reliable data supporting it. That's the work of a journalist. So thank you so much for that background. Thankfully, we are Nigerians and we are at the grassroots, as it were. And the constituency projects that we see, as you mentioned, are usually basically boreholes, roads, sometimes rebuilding or renovating school structures and all that. But the problem is, we have members, House of Representatives, and we have senators, isn't it? And we have a member, House of Representative, that represents a particular constituency. And we also have a senator that also represents this same particular constituency, isn't it? So a member, House of Representative, is also supposed to be doing his constituency project, and a senator is also supposed to be doing his own constituency projects. And yet, you go around these constituencies, just as you said, the resources is never enough. And there are few of them that try to be as widely reached as possible, in the sense that we would not accuse them for concentrating only in a certain area. But where the challenge comes is the quality of these projects. the quality of these projects. I've had cause to move around and take shots of certain roads that were constructed as constituency projects. Those roads haven't lasted up to 3 years and they are falling apart already. Let's say 10 or 20 million is budgeted for a certain project. What actually gets into that project may sometimes not be up to 50% of the amount that is given for that project. And you see certain boreholes that were constructed lasting just for about a year or two and they pack up. And of course, yes, we hear the complaint that sometimes we say the people whom such projects were built for do not maintain it or do not manage it well. But the truth is that most of such projects were substandard, because when a contract is given, the lawmaker takes something from the amount of money that is budgeted for that project, and the contractor too takes something, and there are other number of people that have maybe facilitated the contract that are still going to take something from that funds. So at the end of the day, the actual amount of that funds that go into that project is hardly ever up to 50% of that. And so you go around, you see road that was constructed that does not last up to 3 years, and before you know it, the road has fallen apart. So we are not having what we would call sustainable development. Every lawmaker comes, he does these projects that last just for a short period, and these projects go bad. And the people are back to square one, as if nothing has ever been done. You understand? So these are the ways in which such projects encourages corruption. And who inspects, who monitors this project? Apart from the lawmaker himself that is doing that constituency project, which other authority do we have that monitors this project, that checks the quality of this project, that knows the amount that was budgeted for that project and the actual money spent on that project? Who does that? Who checks all that? Nobody does. So at the end of the day, we have constituency projects that, are just meant to enrich the members of the National Assembly and maybe their cronies.
Thank you, Alex. Just to add to what you said, Obasanjo, he has this to say about the National Assembly. He said the National Assembly cabal is worse than any cabal that anybody may find anywhere in our national government system. He says they pay themselves allowances for staff and offices they do not have or maintain. That's true. Obasanjo talking, the former president. Now, why is the constituency project such a bad idea for Nigeria? It may have served its purpose between 1999 and 2003 when everybody was talking about dividends of democracy. Meanwhile, just to make the point that dividend of democracy does not mean physical infrastructure or education. In so many countries without democracy, you have so much infrastructure better than countries with democracy. So democracy does not really guarantee these stuff. It depends on your wealth. It depends on what you have. Arab countries, Saudi Arabia does not practice democracy, but the country is, in terms of infrastructure development, it is top notch. China is a one-party state, and China is one of the biggest world economy to reckon with, almost about to topple the United States. So just to go back to our point about constituency projects, why we should abandon it, it is because we have the quantum of people willing to steal in government are more than those who desire to serve. So when you have that kind of arrangement, you have people going into government hoping to steal, to make themselves rich. over service. So my perspective in dealing with the situation that we find ourselves, because constituency projects are supposed to be a stopgap to enable us achieve widespread development across various communities. Now, if we sustain it, it will become a veritable and viable means of enriching very few individuals, those in the National Assembly. So to avoid that situation, it should be scrapped. We're not making the appeal. We're urging Nigerians to buy into this position. The local government remains more effective and more efficient in delivering infrastructure and community development at local levels, because the local government is comprised of various wards. You have wards, certain number of wards make up local government, right? Now, every ward is represented by a councillor. So the needs of a local government can easily be known and can be met. The current revenue sharing formula gives 20% of whatever that is generated federally to local governments. The states get about 26%. So the federal government takes the largest chunk. But the federal government can subsidize local community development, like education. Primary schools are in the list called concurrent for local government. It's exclusively for local government administration, primary schools, right? Now we have a situation where if you are poor, you are unfortunate because your children may not get quality education and afford to pay well. Then you might end up going to schools with limited infrastructure and low quality teachers. And sometimes the teachers are not even enough. You find a school for students, 100 pupils, with less than 5 teachers. So to avoid the situation where a Nigerian child education is the government should empower local government with more funds. It happens everywhere in the world. In South Africa, for instance, every local government, they call it province, they have what they call the what is the average? What is the provincial average of school fee? In this provincial average. And so any school that charges above that average does not enjoy grants from the federal government. But if you charge at that average or lower, then you enjoy grants. It supports you.
So
the idea is that no child should be left behind in terms of achieving quality education.
Okay. So these schools you mentioned, you're referring to is private schools or public schools?
So even because private schools, these are privately subsidized in South Africa, and they have the quality there.
Okay.
We don't have the quality, right? So because we don't have that quality in our local schools, the federal government can allocate more resources to local government to support education at primary level.
Okay.
And because you can have local government schools across all the nooks and crannies of the communities. So some areas may not have government presence in terms of schools. So private schools fill in the gap. So for those private schools that don't have the muzzle, they charge fees that cannot even support quality education, the federal government should also ensure that funds get into such schools. And that is where I drew the South African example. And that kind of example exists. So we don't need, we need to scrap constituency project and replace it with grants to local governments to handle education, to handle healthcare delivery, because primary health care they fall in the purview of the local government. So more funds ought to be channeled so that primary healthcare should have doctors, resident doctors. You should not go there and just meet only nurses. It should be expanded to be able to cover critical situations.
Okay, so that the points you have raised now is suggesting better ways to effectively use our funds, right? To ensure that
yes.
development reach people at the grassroots. So even though you said that local government chairmen do not enjoy immunity as other government officials, so they are less likely to fall into the temptation of misappropriating.
They might steal some, but not everything.
Not everything. So the idea of this program is to get people involved, right? If that happens, we know that currently we also have challenges with local government in Nigeria. They are not as efficient as they should be. So what would you suggest? Apart from that, now, what suggestions do we give Nigerians as to how to ensure when that happens that we do not fall back into the same challenge that we're having with the members of the National Assembly now? Because the idea behind this constituency project, right, is a brilliant idea. The challenge is what happens from the point of a member of National Assembly receiving funds and how that funds gets translated into improved lives for Nigerians. So what suggestions can you give as to?
So here's the thing. The fact is that local government are simply just an appendage of the government. You know that.
In itself.
And to meet.
That in itself is a problem. So, I think we should also have an episode to talk about that.
An episode on that.
Exactly.
But just to briefly say that the local government chairman is not too far away from where we live. Not too far away from where we live. So it is easy for us to organize and go and protest in the presence of the local government that these are the things that we face. Come and handle it, right? Then walk to Asu Rock. It's almost impossible there. People who do that kind of man barely get a result. Because how many people can you mobilize to Abuja? And the people who lead, so they don't protest. So, and if you want to bring people from the suburbs, at the cost of transport, it's actually a problematic situation. So if they are an effective way, you can go to your local government offices, go there and demand that these challenges should be dealt with. But we'll have another episode completely allocated for dealing with this subject. Okay. Just to also say that because the challenge that we face in Nigeria is the problem of corruption. Corruption has held a grip on our resources. Corruption itself has assumed a life of its own. Yes. So that anybody who gets into government appears to be infected by that bug. So we have somebody that Nigerians so much respect, and I respect her a lot, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. And she has given us her experience while in government. Because we wouldn't have a problem with the constituency project if not for corruption.
Okonjo-Iweala was the finance minister and the coordinating minister of the economy during President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's regime. And she had also served as economic advisor to President Olusegun Obasanjo when he became the president in 1999, sometime around that period. And from 2003 I think to 2006, she was the Minister of Finance at that time. So having served that regime and left Nigeria, when Goodluck Jonathan came, she was again invited to come and become the finance minister. And something that she didn't immediately want to accept, but eventually she was convinced. And one striking thing that made her took the appointment was a statement by the then president-elect Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. He said that he wasn't calling her to come and serve President Jonathan, but he was calling her to come and serve to help her country, Nigeria. And she took up the job. And some of the challenges that she faced was this issue of corruption. One with the governors, two with the members, National Assembly. How did that happen with the National Assembly? Is the issue of budgeting. You understand? When she was in government, when she noticed the leakage of revenue through monies, funds getting missing in the petroleum sector, there were many cases of funds just being unaccounted for. And again, from her wisdom, she felt that at that time, a country that depends largely on oil and gas, she said a country like Nigeria that is very largely dependent on revenues from oil and gas could not afford to be spending every money that comes in as revenue. So they created what they called excess crude accounts, where they would put a benchmark for the budget based on the amount less than what the prevailing market price was at the time. For instance, if fuel was selling for, let's say, $150 or $120 per barrel, they will put a benchmark they will put a benchmark for the budget to be at, say, $70 per barrel.
Yeah.
So that whatever is the balance from that $70 to $130, they would be saving it in the excess crude account. You understand? That is one of the first major challenges that she had with governors and members, House of Assembly, because they felt, why would they be saving that kind of amount of money? They should channel basically all the money. In fact, they didn't even mind if the whole money would be put into the budget so that it would be shared accordingly. And the members of the National Assembly would get a certain amount of money that they wanted for running running the National Assembly, which includes, of course, the day-to-day running of the National Assembly and the constituency project, where, became where we would describe as the means of enriching themselves. An instance was when fuel was selling for almost $150 per barrel, you understand, and they put a benchmark for
that was almost an all-time high. We've never had that experience since then.
An all-time high. Yeah. So if at that time something like this was happening, her wisdom was that you'll be saving part of this amount so that when, for any reason, and because it always happens, the price of fuel crashes, you would have what they call a buffer for the budget, that the country wouldn't suffer too much. And there was an experience in 2000 and around 2008 when the world faced there was this global recession. At that time, she wasn't in office. Yes, she wasn't in office. But when they were making that provisions for the excess crude account, according to Okonjo-Iweala, Olusegun Obasanjo successfully, insisted on having that kind of money saved. So when the government of Obasanjo left and the government of President Yar'Adua came in 2008, Musa Yar'Adua came in, when there was global economic meltdown in 2008, recession, because Nigeria had money in the excess crude account. Nigeria didn't feel the impact the way it would have felt if there was nothing in the excess crude account. You understand? So Nigeria successfully survived that period. And we all didn't feel the impact. We were hearing it in the news that there was global economic meltdown. But we didn't feel the impact as much as we would have felt if there was nothing in the excess crude accounts. But when the administration of Goodluck Jonathan came, and it became much more challenging for Nigeria to keep money in that excess crude account. Because she said when she came back as a minister in that time, she saw that there was virtually nothing in the excess crude account. And they managed to still start building, but the governors and the members of National Assembly fought her really seriously. And it became a major problem. There was a time they put a barrel budget benchmark price at a time when the market price was about 92 a barrel. Consultations followed with the governors and National Assembly leaders who pushed to increase the benchmark price to $75 per barrel when the price at the international market was 92, ostensibly to allow for increased spending in state and federal government budgets. And then we agreed to this figure as an upper limit for the benchmark, and the medium-term expenditure framework was sent to the National Assembly for approval on this basis. But she said she was surprised that, unfortunately, her team learned in mid-October 2012 that the House of Representatives had rejected the agreed benchmark and had approved its increase to $80 per barrel, according to a Vanguard newspaper article dated October 10, 2012. So when they successfully did that, frustrating the finance ministry and the federal government from keeping the benchmark at 72 so that they will be able to save whatever it was that was remaining into the excess crude accounts. You and I are witnesses
to save about $20. To save about over $20 per every barrel of crude exported.
Exactly. So, having done that, it came to a time where President Goodluck Jonathan's regime elapsed and they left, and President Muhammadu Buhari came on board. And we are all witnesses to what happened from towards the ending of 2015 to 2016. Nigeria went into depression for the first time in two decades. For the first time in 20 years, Nigeria went into the kind of recession that was not experienced in the last 20 years. And it wasn't a coincidence. It didn't happen, it didn't just come out of nowhere. It was something that was expected to happen when we lived life like that. You understand? By spending almost everything that comes into the coffers of the federal government. So when you had that kind of person that had the wisdom to say that, look, we don't have to spend everything as it comes, because our economy largely depends on this thing. And this fuel prices is not stable. It's not something that is consistent all through the decades. There were times that you have economic boom, and there were times that you have, fuel the prices would be high, and there were times that the prices would be low. So as a wise country, why won't you, get that culture of not spending everything that comes in? And they say that they needed more money to run the National Assembly. And what is in the running of the National Assembly?
The idea that Okonjo-Iweala proposed and that Obasanjo put his foot on the ground and ensured that it was achieved, which is to have some backup.
Yes.
Jonathan tried as much as possible to sustain it, but he faced severe
resistance. Yes.
Severe attacks from the governors, and I'll mention exactly. And these governors today are on different camps. One of them is Oshomole.
In fact,
one of the major critics of Okonjo-Iweala.
Exactly.
Yes, another one is Chibuike Amechi, who was former governor of Rivers State. So you see that these guys and these men are now in two different political camps, right? But these are the same people that will be shouting, 16 years of PDP.
Nothing was achieved.
And was wasted, you know? But yeah, they said nothing was achieved. But somebody who was a lone voice in the government of Obasanjo and was also in the government of Jonathan tried to stop that kind of narration that, because it's not true that nothing was achieved. It is that we all deliberately decided not to support her.
They frustrated.
She was supported.
You
frustrated her. And now you are now shouting that 16 years of PDP was a waste when they collectively added to the waste.
Exactly.
So go ahead. I just wanted to put that into context.
Yes, and thank you so much for putting that into context. And when you use the words they did not support, I think you were very charitable with your word. They frustrated. They frustrated her. They frustrated like people like Oshomole.
Yeah.
Adams Oshomole and Chibuike Amechi and this guy, former governor of Niger State, who was then the leader of, I think, Northern Governors Forum.
Babangida
Aliyu. Yes, he was.
Babangida Aliyu.
Exactly. These were the guys that insisted.
And she mentioned their names in her book.
She mentioned their names in her book. These were the guys that insisted. In fact, she said that is one thing that this podcast is meant to be non-partisan, but we need to praise people when they do something that is worthy of praises. In Okonjo-Iweala's account, she said among all the governors at the time that were insisting that this money be shared, the one lone voice that supported her was the then governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi.
Peter Obi was in government then. Okay.
He was in government then.
Yeah, he left in 2014.
Exactly. Peter Obi was the only voice that was saying what this woman is doing is what is good for the country. But as she said, the majority, his voice was drowned in the midst of all those people, the multitudes, what they were demanding for. And so we lived a life of spending beyond what we have, and we became, we got into that mess that we still haven't come out of till today. So these are some of the issues, and there were many things that she raised.
Yeah.
Many things that she raised. For instance, the NNPC. She said, according to her, the NNPC is not accountable to anybody apart from the president. And that is why in the time past, you have many of our presidents being directly involved in fact, President Muhammadu Buhari
appointed themselves ministers.
As the ministers, yes, of the NNPC.
Obasanjo also was a minister. Tinubu is also a minister.
Exactly. So all these people do such things because the NNPC is not accountable to anybody.
Only the president. No minister can.
Nobody. No. Nobody. Even the money that they make, doesn't pass through the finance ministry first. You understand? It just goes straight to the federal government. So when you run a system like that, you know that you're encouraging lack of accountability. And these were some of the things that she tried to fight and that was heavily resisted.
Let me have my closing thought on this that you just raised. I think Nigerians, how they can get involved in making NNPC to be accountable, not to run the way it is running amok. In the House of Rep, there's a committee probing NNPC as at today. And that committee is saying that NNPC GM should come and account for over 200 trillion. How did you people spend it?
This has always been the case.
The NNPC wanted to say, no, 200 trillion was. No, that's not what the House of Reps said. Come and tell us how you spent this money. There are two different things. We're not saying that it is missing.
Yes.
So Now, how do we get involved? How do you get involved? In very, very, you will find all the people come and vote for us. And to tell you the truth, every voter, your vote determines whether the president should be elect somebody else, and they have one vote can make the difference, right? So you don't just say my vote doesn't count. It counts because enormous effort to buy that vote. It counts. And you might say, oh, it will break, you will send army, you will send police and all that. No, they can only send they stand your ground. Nobody can push you over. Exactly. You know? And you command, Nigerians, you command the numbers. Be at the polling unit, secure your vote, and escort this vote to the ward. So why am I making this point? At this stage now, we should begin to make that demand. It should be part of your manifestations, the political parties. They are the ADC, the PDP, the Labour Party, the APC. Nigeria, when they come to seek your vote, demand, okay, what is your proposal in terms of making NNPC accountable? What's your proposal? Will you be the Minister for Petroleum? Will you appoint yourself as Minister for Petroleum? You know? And so you begin to set the standards. Let it be documented. But for all the political parties, we should have terms of engagement so that when they are in power and they are not fulfilling what they promise, you can now say, oh, you are liars. But as at now, you cannot blame them for anything. Nobody promised you anything. The president that we have today didn't even participate in any debate. He didn't. So you cannot blame him for continuing with the status quo. But for the situation not to remain the same, by the time we approach 2027, which we're already in full gear, we should begin to make these silent demands. What's your perspective on primary education, which is in the hand of local government? Currently, local government don't have enough resources to fix all the state of decay. Abuja, where you stay, I remember that primary school teachers were on strike for so many months. Children were homes. Poor kids, children.
Yes.
The ones who were brought to children to private schools are their children all having uninterrupted, you know. So these are the kind of engagement. The FCT minister March want to say, Nigerians don't know what they're talking about. Primary school is in the hand of local government. We all know. We know.
Have you given the local government enough money?
They don't have the enormous resources to handle all of these critical challenges, because local government is the arm of our governance structure that carries all the problems of Nigerians. Yes. The streets to our various houses are in the hands of the local government. Waste collection, markets, healthcare, education. If there's flood, if bridges to your streets are broken, these are local government functions. You know, so that's my closing thought. And I want to also assure our listeners that we'll expand the conversation to have more guests coming to the show so that we can have different perspectives. Today is more like we're making this advocacy that our construction project should be scrapped. It doesn't benefit anybody, it benefits only a fraction of the society. And it's almost an impossible thing for you to find yourself as a beneficiary if you don't align to a politician. And even when you are aligned, what they will give you is some stipend that won't take you anywhere. So, Alex, let's have your own closing shot so that we can call it a day.
All right. Thank you, Ishaya, for these very beautiful closing remarks. The name of our podcast is Get Involved, and that's the essence. When we get involved, not only during election periods, even after, let's hold our leaders accountable. For instance, NNPC, we need to advocate. When Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was the minister, she brought in the culture of publishing, finances that was coming in and going out, I think on monthly basis. You understand? Being accountable to Nigerians, showing Nigerians the monies the funds that came into the coffers of the federal government and the funds that was shared to the various states and the local government at the time. And it also faced some resistance, but she did it. You understand? The moment she left office, the thing, slowed down, and then they stopped it. But when she was there, she did it. So this is something that, Nigerians can begin to call for, demand for. From every ministry, not only Ministry of Finance, even the National Assembly, how much money is going to each member of House of Representatives? How much money is it going to a senator? And how much is he spending? You understand? So Nigerians should try to be very much aware of what is happening within their environment so that they can ask questions, so that they can make suggestions. If there is a road that a member House of Representative constructed and the road is not good, you call him out. If it's a senator, you call him out. How much money did you get for this project? And how much have you put into this project? And how come this project is not up to standards? You understand? When we start to do these things, these guys will sit up. These guys will sit up. So this will be my closing remark, that every Nigerian should be actively involved in what is happening around politics, economy, and everything. Don't just become active during election periods. No. In fact, we should even be more active after the elections. For instance, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the current president now, while campaigning for election, he promised Nigerians that when he come in as the president, he would fix electricity, and that if he does not fix electricity, that Nigerians should not vote for him when he comes for that in 2027. We are not in 2027 election yet, but you can see that campaign is already ongoing. And there is an information that the president is spending certain amounts of money to put a solar system in
Aso Rock.
In Aso Rock. How does that sound? So if really he's working to bring stable electricity to Nigerians, would he be spending, how much money did he say? Billions of naira into
10
that
billion
project?
naira is already allocated for that.
10
Only Aso
billion.
Rock alone.
10 billion.
Only Aso Rock. For just Aso Rock. 10 billion.
10 billion naira is already
Yes, for
allocated
just Aso Rock electricity.
to put solar
panels.
system, solar panels. Oh my goodness. So it means that already is an acceptance of failure, isn't it?